Welcome to your LEAP ACT Practice Test Scoring Guide to help you interpret your scores with a LEAP retired ACT practice test that you took with us. It's very important to go ahead and make sense of your scores, so we want to help you and guide you in learning from your scores and how ACT scores work. First is the English test. On an ACT test, the English test is always given first. It is 75 questions in 45 minutes. To go ahead and score this portion of the test, you're going to need to take out first your scoring key for the English test. It will look something like this. Now, you may have a different test booklet number, as we use several different numbers with LEAP. Your sheet may look slightly different as far as right answers, but it will look something like this. You also are going to need to take out your English form, and again, it could be a different test form, it could have a different date, but it will be a Scantron that you use when you actually took the test. So if you have both of these in front of you, you're now going to go through and look at what answers you put on the Scantron with what answers that you put, the correct answer that is listed on the scoring key. You will want to put a 1 or a check mark next to every single question that you answered correctly as you're looking at the scoring key. So you're making marks on your scoring key. Now, as you do this, you may want to pause the video right now before we go on to the next step. That way, you can pause and restart it to work at your own pace. After you've marked all of your correct questions, we're going to total up the first column, which is called Usage and Mechanics. It's labeled UM. So you're going to go down, count every correctly answered question in the UM category. Now that you have that number, you're going to go ahead and write it in the bottom of the scoring key for English to look at how many correct questions you got in the area of usage and mechanics. Next, you're going to total up the rhetorical skills questions that you got correct. Count them up now in the next column. Once you have that total, place it at the bottom of the sheet. Now you have the total number of rhetorical skills questions that you've gotten correct. Your next step is to add these two numbers together. So as I already said, the English test was scored out of 75 questions. The total number that you got correct is determined by your score on usage and mechanics and rhetorical skills. Your next step now is to take out what's called Table 1. Table 1 is where we take the total number of correct questions that you got. So for instance, on an English test, you could have gotten 54 questions correct, but we're going to move this down to a scale of 36. ACT tests are always scored on a 36-point scale. Go ahead now, over to Table 1, find the English column, go down to the correct number that you got on the English portion of the test, circle that number. Now, look to your left on that page at the bold numbers, and this will tell you what your scaled score is for English. Now go to the top of Table 1 and write in your English score here. This tells you out of a 36-point scale how you scored on the English portion of the test. Next, we're going to do this for the math portion of the test. Very similar process. You're going to start moving more quickly through this as you become more adept at what you're doing. For this portion of the test, you're going to need the mathematics scoring key. Again, looks like this. As well, you need to have out your math Scantron that you filled out when you were actually taking the test. Just like we did for English, now go through and correctly make a mark next to each question that you got correct on the scoring key. Once you finish this, we're actually going to add up now 3 subcategories on the math test. They're titled EA for elementary algebra, AG, and GT. So you're going to now go through, total up all the correct marks that you got in the EA column. Once you have those totaled up, put the number at the bottom, and that tells you how many questions you got correct in the EA column. Now, the second column, AG. Total them up. Once you have the score, put them on the bottom. Finally, the G category. Total these up, up on the bottom of the page. Now, you want to add these three categories together for the total number of questions you got correct. There were 60 questions on the math test. You were given 60 minutes to take that portion of the test. So go ahead and figure your score up. Now, take out table 1. In the math column, go down, look at the total number of math questions that you got correct, circle that number. Look to your left on that page, find the bold number that corresponds in that row. This tells you what your scaled score is out of 36. Now go up above, put your scaled score in the top box. On to reading. Reading, like English, only has two subcategories. So we're going to take out our scoring key and our reading scantron. We're going to go through our question correctly. Now we have two columns, SS and AL. Fill up all your SS questions, put it at the bottom of the page. It's not at the bottom, it's really about the halfway point because reading and science share that portion, that scoring key. Same. But for AL, add these two numbers together to tell you the total number of questions that you got correct. There were 40 questions on this portion of the test, and you had 35 minutes to take it. You want to take note here because this is an area of the test where many students struggle to finish. So look at your score and see if you're able to determine if you would run out of time or not. Now, take out table 1. Go to the reading column, go down, find the number of questions that you got correct. Look left on the sheet, find the bold score. This is your scale score. Your scale score up to the top box on table 1. Finally, the science test. Unlike the other portions of the test, you do not have any subscores. Take out your science scoring key, which is on the second bottom half of the reading scoring key. Take out your answer sheet, which is a separate Scantron. Go through and mark each question that you got correct. You already now have your total number. Go over to table 1. Go down on the science. Circle your number of correct questions. This, just like the reading portion, had 40 questions answered in 35 minutes. Look left, find the bold scaled score, put this at the top of table 1. The next step, and we do this on table 1, is to find out your composite score. That's really your final ACT score, and this is what most colleges are simply going to look at. You're going to add up all of the numbers that you put in the top part of table 1. So you add up your English, your math, your reading, your science. Put that in a blank that says sum of scores. Next step is you're going to divide that total number by the 4, because there are 4 portions of the test. So we're actually looking for what is your average number of the 4 sections to determine your composite. You now have your final composite score. If your score ended in a 0.5 or 0.75, you're going to round up to the next number. So a 21.5 would actually be a 22 on the ACT. If you had a 0.25, you round down. That's the way it works on the actual ACT as well. Now, take it a step further to see what else you can do as you're prepping for your future ACT. You want to look at your sub-scores as well. This is done on page using table 2 from your test booklet. You're going to look at your English scoring key, look at the number that you had next to usage and mechanics, UM. You're going to go to table 2. You're really adept at this now. Look left, find the bold score, put it at the top of table 2. The same thing under English with the rhetorical skills. That's RH. Find your scaled rhetorical skills score and put it at the top. For math scores, you're going to do the same thing for each category, EA, AG, and GT. Table 2, and then putting these scores at the top. Reading, you have 2, SS and AL do the same thing. Remember, there are no subscores for science. So what are your next steps now that you've determined it? We also would encourage you on your own, too, since you're very adept at this now, go ahead using Table 3 and figure out your national percentile score. The 50th percentile on an ACT is currently around the 21, so that gives you an idea. Your exact percentile score can be used using tables 1, 2, and 3 together to give you your percentile scores. We encourage you next to plan your ACT testing dates. Plan your ACT test prep with LEAP. If you're already engaged in that, contact us to see if there's anything else you should be doing. As you're searching for colleges, you need to keep an eye on what was the average ACT and GPA, for that matter, of students who were admitted last year. These are regularly published on school websites, in Naviance if your school uses it, and other search engines on the web. You want to keep your eye on trying to be at the 50th percentile if you're aiming to get in, and at the 75th percentile if you're looking to maximize scholarships. As always, LEAP is here to help. Visit our website where you can find out more information and register for classes and tutoring, or email us, and you can also call. Thank you for using LEAP and engaging with us in practice tests, which will reduce your test anxiety and result in leaping to higher scores.